Hello, it's me, and I think it's time we wrapped up our cuboid classification series by sort of challenging the limits with what we have and how we've identified the different species and subspecies of cuboids by moving on to see if the strategies can work for some of the giant cubes or the world record cuboids that are out there. So just to review, we've gone through all stemming from this little humble 3x3, the dominoes here, which is of the form n by n plus o by n plus o, where o is any odd number. Then you have the other types of dominoes, which are really the same kind of strategy. So they just look a little different. Mathematically, it looks a little different, where it's the n by n plus, or it's the n by n plus o, where o is any odd number. But it's all pretty much the same way. Moving on to the shape shifting, I just have a couple of examples of both of those. These are the n by n plus p, where p is any even numbers. The strategy of this was all those domino strategies of corner swaps and edge swaps. The strategy of this was basically get it back to the cuboid form so that you can do domino solves from there. Basically, you're reducing it all to this 3x3x2. Then we moved on to among my more favorite classification, which is the bricks, as captivated by this. Because you have a form where you have two evens and an odd, or two odds and an even, you end up having this thing called brick parity, which you can get with pretty much any of these. And then we moved on to the floppies, which are kind of new on the scene. And I suppose I should put the original archetypic floppy in there, even though it doesn't really behave exactly like one. But anyway, with these guys, the strategy with this is much like the shapeshifters. You get it back into the cuboid form, but not by using cube strategy, but by using, by using cube strategy. But once you do that, you then have to reduce all the edges should they need reducing, get it back to 3x3x2, but then you can end up with what's called the floppy parity. So this is a pretty good representation of those. But now, as we're finishing up with the floppies, let's start to hit some of the larger floppies, the giant ones, like this guy, which is the 5x7x7, and this guy, which is the 6x8x8. So truly an astounding variety of puzzles over there. We did a couple of giant examples of these guys over here, but now we're going to hit these guys right over here. So let's zoom on down here, pull these off to the side a little bit, and let these guys take front and center. Now, looking at this, basically this pretty much looks like just a giant cube. But the fact of the matter is, although this is a 6x8x8, it's not really, although it looks like a 6x6x6, 8x8x8, it's hard to tell the difference really. It is not that, it's a floppy. And even though it looks yards and yards different from this, the solve strategy is very similar to what we showed with this guy over here. It's not too dissimilar to this in that you get the same type of floppy parity that you're going to get with that version. So both of these are made by Traiphum, as you can see by the quality of the work, the craftsmanship, the smooth, fantastic turning that happens with them. This one over here, the 6x8x8, this really pushes the envelope of modding capacity. So I got to be a little more careful with how it moves, because you can tell it's really strained to hold itself together, but it manages to do so quite well. So what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to go ahead and do something a little different. Rather than doing separate videos for each one and going through what might be kind of a repetitive type of strategy, I'm actually going to do them both at the same time. We're going to do a tandem scramble and a tandem solve. That's because, not being a mass-produced puzzle, it's probably okay just to go through and see how the strategy works with this, and how you can use the cuboid, the floppy strategy coming across the various different types of parities that can happen. Now, the thing to also keep in mind, when I showed you the 2x4x4, we didn't have a middle membrane, so we didn't have to worry about reducing edges. When we did the 3x5x5, we did, but it was really just one edge, one middle membrane, so that really wasn't a problem. When we did this guy, although it got a little bit more complicated, the 3x7x7, there's Traiphum again, it was still just one edge over here. So how does this translate when we have three middle segments over here that we have to reduce down to, and this big lug over here where we have 1, 2, 3, 4 middle segments? So it does get a little bit more complicated with that. So drag this over here. Just to show you a little bit of the movement here, with a 5x7x7, we can do our 180-degree scrambles. Well, it's not exactly 180 degrees. This is scrambling it like a cuboid first, and I like to separate that out, tease that out before doing shape-shifting scrambles. So I'm going to just do that more here. So this is a pretty good 180-degree, well, a pretty good cuboid scramble of this one before moving into the shape-shifting version of it. So as we do the same thing over here, again, you can see how nicely this moves. This is testing, like I say, the limits of modding capacity, where you take the brilliant engineering capacity of Traiphum, and even though it's testing it to the limits, it's still a surprisingly stable puzzle. I do have to be a little more careful with this one. Pieces have popped, but are very easy to put back in, and that has to do with how well they're put together. So you can see that as I'm turning it, it looks like pieces are straining. It's actually a lot more stable than it's appearing to be as I'm turning it. So continue to do our 180-degree scrambles here. Put this here. So as long as it's lined up, as you can see, it is very stable. I have no complaints about that. I've got to make sure that I'm not straining things here too much. Okay, so after doing our 180-degree, or after doing our cuboid scrambles, we can start looking at some shape shifting. We'll start off with this guy here. We'll do some limited shape shifting moves here. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying not to scramble it too much. As I'm shape shifting, I'm going to start bandaging sides. So I want to do these before I bandage it too much, so that I can maintain something of a challenging scramble. Now, as you can see, as I'm shape-shifting it more and just moving it 90 degrees in all direction, I'm pretty much reducing this puzzle to the lowest common denominator. So I'm reducing this to a 5x5 because I'm bandaging the top two and the bottom two, or what was the top two and what was the bottom two layers. Okay, I'm going to do more of that in a bit, but let's do a scramble of this. To those who've never seen this before, same kind of thing. We'll put in a couple of layers here, and maybe one down over here. Okay, so like I say, I'm trying to tease things out as much as I can, and we will cautiously start to do a shape-shifting scramble here. Double turn this here, double turn this over here. This way I haven't quite tied up these layers yet. Can move this down here perhaps. Move this up like so. And like I say, it's straining to keep itself alive, but it is doing it. I just have to be very careful of where I'm turning and where I'm going. Move this over here. And then after a while, I'm going to stop double turning it like I'm doing. And now we'll just do 90-degree turns. And because this is a 6x8x8, you can guess what layer puzzle I'm pretty much reducing this down to, which is a 6x6. And as I move this, and as I turn this, and as I hopelessly destroy anything that resembles form of a cuboid, that's what it's becoming. And you can see that I don't have any discrete centers. Because this is an odd layer puzzle, I don't have a discrete center here anymore. I'm sorry, because it's an even layer puzzle, I don't have a discrete center. As you can see, our centers are getting all mixed up with each other, and I'm going to have to define the centers as I continue to solve them. So I'm going to scramble them all the way, make it as much of a challenge as possible. Double, abracadabra. And there we go. Okay, so the first part of the assembly of the solve of this is, of course, being a floppy and being a shapeshifter. We're going to start off with the cube form, the cube solve, and the reason that we're doing that is ultimately we want to reduce this down to kind of a flat form. We want to make it look like this, only in the higher version, basically. Well, to do that, I've got certain parts that aren't available to me, certain parts that are bandaged. Like if you look at this, these two are bandaged here. So I want to get it back to the cuboid form, mostly so that I can free up as many of these layers as possible. But what I basically have here is a 5x5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then this here is 5. And this is going to be a 6x6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So what I'm about to do first with both of these is just basically a 5x5 and then a 6x6 solve. So it's really as simple as that. So starting off with a center reduction, the main difference of course here is I have the centers already defined for me. Here I don't, so I have to put those in. So this is done the way I've solved every big cube. Is it's going to be here and the center is over here. Now there are centerpieces along here, but that's not available to me. Everything is going to be pretty much as I would do for just a 5x5, so the centers are going to be as such. I am going to put these centers in, but that's only after I've freed up other layers to do that. So if we were to start off with yellow over here, we've got a bunch here. And what I'm doing is I'm just putting in as many as I can. What you can do is actually just make 1x3 bars over here. So find one that I can do here, place that over here. And now we can continue the process of assembling the others, just place other 1x3 bars here as well. So turn this here, turn this over here, and I'm really just lining up my yellows. Now to those who are curious about how to do a 5x5 solve, I'm going to go through this quickly because you can maybe get some experience with that. So 1x3 bar over here, I'm going to place this here as well. The first one is always the simplest. And this is not a supercube, despite the fact that it's a shapeshifter. Cuboids are not supercubes because they shapeshift, mods are, and they display different kind of characteristics. Okay, so first center over here. Now what you could do is you could put in the center just below that because that frees up this layer as well. So I'm going to put these in. I'm going to put a bar in over here. Could be any center bar. So how about this over here? Going to match this white one. So putting things in without messing up this center is really just a combination of placing, creating a 1x3 bar here, turning it out of the way to protect it, and then replacing. So putting back up what I just took out so I can move this back up to here. So now I have this over here. So what I'm going to do now is just keep making bars like that. So here's 2. I need one more over here. Surely there's something up here, and there it is over here. So bang. Now with this 1x3 bar, once I have this in, now I'm going to place it down here, but I have to place this back after I put this down. So we put it in, place the bar in, and then double turn this and bring this back out. All right. Now I can't finish the 1x3 bar here because you can see I've got this over here to contend with. So let's do as much as we can. This comes here, this comes here. So here's a 1x2 component, needs to slide into here. So the technique that I usually do to slide this in, if I wanted to put it in the slot over here. So I got these two are going to come into these two. I'm going to make use that with the larger the cube, the more layers I have to work with. So what I'm going to do is move this over here so that I create this 1x3 bar here. And I moved it in with these two planes. Bump it to the side. And I have not used this plane yet, so I'm free to move this down. And then I'm going to move this back up like so. And then start putting back everything that I took out to begin with. So now this comes back up, this turns over here, and this comes back up over here. The end result is this is in, and this is in. So that's how I like to do my 5x5 solves. So over here, well, I've got this in front of me, so let's place the 1x3 bar over here. How about this one here? Sure, this comes over here. I'm going to turn this to the side and start placing other 1x3 bars. So I can match this to here. So turn, creating this over here, bump it out of the way, and then turn back. Actually, I don't really have to do that as of yet because I haven't put in any other centers here. So I don't have to worry about it. So this comes over here. I'm going to look for another one over here to place. And actually, I can just use this one. Move this over here. And now I've got these two. So now I need one more 1x3 bar. I'm laying this on the side so I can move this plane without messing up any of these bars here. I'll just be moving them back and forth. So I just need one center one over here, which looks like it's right over here. So move this over here, and it's got to make the journey down to here. So that's got to come across here. 1, 2, 1, 2. So I've made this bar over here. So now I know all the bars are here. I just have to find them. Okay. So there's this center. So now the next center is sort of the same kind of thing. I'm just retaining these places while I'm putting these centers in over here. So the next one, I know with this, I know where the sides are supposed to be because I've got a center piece over here. So it makes it to where I don't have to worry about putting centers in the wrong area. So here's blue. We'll just put this blue one in. Now more than ever, I have to do the turn in and then turn out technique because I'm going to move it in, which will bat this out. I have to be sure to bat it back in. What I mean by that is I turn this, make this bar over here, I batted this out, but if I turn it into a different plane so that I protect this, then move it out, I can move this back in. And then do whatever I want here, move it back if I wanted to. So, simple techniques, most of you probably already know this, but just to be sure. So I'm going to make a 1x3 bar over here. I've got this one over here. So I'll move this like so. You can see how smooth this guy turns. Turn this in. So I move this middle one basically to make this bar. So turn it out of the way and just get used to moving the middle one back. So we're good over here. Now I want to move this 1x3 bar into here. So that's the same technique of moving it in, turning, and moving this layer back out with a different portion here. So I'm going to move this in like so. Double turn, move it back out. So now I just have left this guy over here. This can move in, moves it in like this, move it out of the way, and here. So still assembling my 1x3 bars. Now to move this into here, I'm going to turn it to where this will first bump the same color out of the way because I can move it into here and then double turn and then move this back. So again, no need for algorithms, it's just strategy. Now we're down to the last two centers, which in supercubes cause no end of issues, but with a regular puzzle, no problem at all. So red over here. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to do group placements. So instead of just 1x3 bars, just whatever can move in. So this can move on block to here, double turn, move out. So now we just have a couple here to go. I've got two here that I can maybe move in at the same time. And yeah, these two can come to here. So same concept. Now we move both of these in to create this bar over here, bump it out of the way to move it down in a plane that we've not used yet. And now we just reconstitute it back. Turn this back here, move it in, don't panic, turn this here, and there we go. So now we have one more. And the beauty about this is I don't have to focus on the other side at all. Put this one in, this one will automatically be done. Move this here, I've got this one left. Move it in from the middle to create this 1x3 bar, move it out of the way, bring it down, and now we just move things back. Move it back, place my middle back, turn this up, and voila. So here we have reduction of the centers in strict 5x5 technique. Now let's make a transition to this guy over here. And a reduction of the center is going to be proceeded pretty much the same way, I just have more to do. And I have to bear in mind that once again, it's only the 6x6 centers that I'm going to have available to me, but there's still going to be centers beyond that with the white and the yellow layers. Now, here I knew exactly where the white and yellow centers were. Here, I don't. It's not predefined for me. So I actually have to start placing it and arbitrarily define where that is. So these are going to be some centerpieces over here. So what I'm going to do is say, okay, this I declare, bequeath to be the yellow center. So I'm going to start putting things in. I'm going to create bars like that. So place this over here. So this is in. And now I'm going to put one on the side over here. So you can see these things literally sliding over each other. It's almost hard to define where the sides end and where they start. So 1, 2, 3. This was placing in 1x3 bars. Here I got to place 1x4 bars. So I need something else that comes along into here, which is right over here. I can put this one in. Okay, so believe it or not, this is a 1x4 bar. You can see that it's a little less clean looking than this, but it'll look a little more clean when I do these sides over here. But this is a 1x4 bar. So what I'm going to do is keep creating 1x4 bars. Here's this over here, and I'm just going to look down here to see if any of these guys match. Despite the challenge of construction of this puzzle, or modification of this puzzle, the movement, once everything is lined up, is very, very smooth. I just got to make sure it's lined up. Now, believe it or not, this might not look like it's a true bar. It might look like this is sort of tapered here, but it's actually not. It's just hidden underneath these other pieces. These other pieces are literally tucking under these other pieces over here, which is pretty cool. Move this across here. See if we can't move this down. Creating this 1x4 bar sticker coming off here. Okay, so this is a 1x4. So what I'm going to do is match it up with this part here, which will tell me that this is going to be my center. This is going to be my center right here. And move this in over here. Okay, so here's a 1x4 bar, so it's going to join its brethren over here. Turn this like so, and turn this up. So now that's taking shape over here. And now we oh so carefully move it in. Okay, so this nice little circle area, that's actually my center. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the next center in. Now I could actually put, I know the white center is opposite this. I know that because that's how it's configured with these Rubik's style puzzles, but I could actually end up putting the white one here or here. And that's because these centerpieces are not attached directly to the core. They actually swing around by other internal structures that are more attached to the core. But if I do that, I won't be able to solve it. So I have to ask myself where it's supposed to go. So if I didn't know what center is here, then I'd have to be working on these centers, and I'd have to line it up in accordance with the corners, because the corners are never reduced in these puzzles. So I know that the white one is down here, but again, if I didn't, I could figure it out based on the corners. So for the white one, here's this. This is the start of a 1x4 bar. I just need another one over here. Holding it like this. Okay, let's see if this lines up. Yep, so this lines up over here. They don't have, some of them have more characteristic looks to them, and there is a learning curve with all these puzzles. Okay, so here's my 1x4 bar over here. I want to place this one. So let's see if we can't pre-assemble them from up here. This is just a higher order version of what I did with this guy. Okay, this comes over to here. In order to place this without messing this up, I'm going to be, because this is homologous to this layer over here, I'm going to move it down, which bumped this out of the way, but then I just double turn it and move it back. Alright, so you can see this taking shape very nicely. You're going to actually also see that I have pretty much most of the center in. I just have a couple of odds and ends here that I have to put in. So now I have 3 left. I've got 2 here. Let's put in the third one, which is over here. And now I just place this 3 down to here. I'm going to do it based on that technique. The only problem is it's kind of facing the wrong way. So I'm going to do something oh so interesting. Move this up to make a 1x4 bar. Turn this to the side and move it down. Alright, so there it is. And again, this is how I do my 6x6 solves. So I've got the top and the bottom, and now these guys. Now these are going to look more like your classic centers. This has a nice, interesting, artistic looking, rounded look to it, which I kind of like. Now, the other difference, the main difference is I don't have anything to guide me here. These centers could be pretty much anything. So what I'm going to use to guide me is, actually what I'm going to do is just arbitrarily pick any color center. I see mostly greens over here, so I'm going to now anoint this green side, abracadabra. So I'm going to put 1x4 bars, assemble 1x4 bars, and just put it in with this. So here's 2. And there's 2 over here, so let's just start assembling centers here. Okay, I can move this in over here. This got moved out, but there's really nothing to move it into. So this is just moving around, but that's okay, because I have not really definitively identified location. And here. Okay, 1x4 bar, 1x4 bar, turn it here, and move it in here. Okay, so now this is set. This is going to be the green center. And that's the thing about these even layered versions of puzzles, is you have more freedom, but you also have more complications. So now, just like here, I'm down to the last two centers. And the last two centers, again, you can let your corners guide you, but I know that blue is opposite green. Here's blue. So I'm going to just start putting things in by doing that replacement thing. So I can see that this en masse can move into here. So I'm just going to go turn. At this point with the last two layers, I don't really do 1x2 bar, 1x3 or 1x4 bars at this point. I just start putting things in as they can be put in. So these two can very easily. This is already 2 over here, so I'm going to turn it like this. Place this here, which bumped these two, which is about to be placed back here. This 1 is going to be bumped out, but I exchanged 2 for 1, which is a pretty good deal in my book. Okay, now I've got these 2 that can come in. Actually, this layer, there's 3. And there's only 1 over here, so I'm going to move this here. Really, I'm going to be moving this to here. But to do that is I have to start off by bumping this out of the way for the time being. Bump it out of the way. Double turn it. Bring it back so that I just bump that out. So you can see I'm loading this up with mostly blues. Now that I've done that, I slowly assemble the rest. I have a pair here. Do I have a pair that's out over here somewhere? And the answer is, well, no. So I have to put them in 1 by 1. So we'll start off with this one. Move this here, so I create this segment over here. Take it out of the way, move this down. Bring it back, move it up, and then just reassemble it here. By doing this, I'm not doing any problems with this side over here. So this needs to come into here. So I move this segment up to create this 1x4 bar, take it out of the way, then this is a completely different plane to move it out of the way to protect it. Now I move it back and reassemble the planes that I took out, which is this one, then come back here, and this is now placed. Now I've got 2 more to go, and I just roll this in until they come to the point where these are supposed to be. So once again, roll it in, move it out, bring it here, move it back, bang, and once you get the hang of it, it actually moves pretty quickly. Now we have one more on each side. So just line them up so where this is going to come to here. Move it in. This cube is so big, I'm not sure if I'm getting everything. Turn it here, move it out. See this nice little cross here? Take it here, move it up, take it back, and move it in. And there you have it. So now we have reduced our centers. And that's how you reduce a center of a 6x6. As you can see, we're getting closer and closer to filling this out into here so that we can start freeing up layers.